Serious, former prisoners of Reddit, what was the last day behind bars like? Spent a week in juvie for a assault, and on my last day the prison guard asked me, is this gonna be your first time or first of many times? That day I vowed to turn my life around. Haven't gotten in trouble ever since. Didn't think I would be released. The whole exit process I kept thinking something is going to come up and it won't happen. Even waiting in the holding cell with my civilian clothing on. It was on my mind. Expecting to be brought back to the block for some reason. If you don't mind me asking. How long were you in for? In and out of county for 2 years. Did just over a year in Pendleton. I only did like 20 days. You get really antsy. Everybody knows you are leaving and says stiff, weird goodbyes. It's just kinda awkward. Cause you know some of the guys are going to be in there a lot longer. When they finally did send somebody to grab me from the block, I said to myself like 9 other guys real enthusiastically, it's been fun chillin' with y'all. One older guy's big digs his head at me, oh that's what we're doing. Just chillin'? I looked at him and said, yeah man. Chillin' like villains. I thought it was hilarious. But nobody else did, so I just got out of there. I was in on assault charges on my dad. I have told more stories before. But I felt shitty about what I did and thought I deserved my time. I get it. But some people don't share that attitude. Did 20 days for an assault charge. County jail. Northern California. Nothing but almost 20 hours of bullpen therapy in a hotter bullpen each time you change. The final bullpen was at least 90 degrees and a few idiots started fights and got thrown back in cells. There was a single vent in this room blowing cold air that you don't feel unless you're directly under it. This Russian dude who had the blessing to find this let me squeeze next to him and shared the air. A huge black dude asked us if we're gay because we are standing so close to each other. Russian dude just say I guess so. An hour later, the big black dude walks past us, stops, and said, oh shit, can I be gay with y'all? Me and Russian dude got out and went to Dennis because it's 3 AM and the trains aren't going yet. I spent $36 on myself there. Never saw the dude again after we parted ways. I did 53 of 66 months for kidnapping, burglary, and assault. During this time, I had dozens of friends die. 4 family members die including my father. And had seen maybe a half dozen people in prison die. My last day in prison was the day I received my certificate of completion for my ARN treatment program. 7 months of treatment for 14 hours a day. 7 days a week. I sobbed like a child in my chair because I knew my nightmare was finally over. I gave all my shit away, pretty standard procedure in prison, and left with just my music and headphones. Aside from mail and treatment work, I ran 2 miles as fast as I possibly could before yard was called in. Hoping that I could sleep, and I never did. I was so disconnected from reality that all I could think about was what I would undergo when I left. And couldn't even comprehend what freedom would feel like. I've been out for months now and I'm doing well, clean and sober. Working full time. Get along with my PO. But I still replay that day in my head constantly just to remind myself that I am free again and to never go back to who I used to be. It's really weird. And slow. Release time was 8 AM, so I consider the day before my last day. Sleep was impossible, so I was up for 36 hours or so, and all I wanted was for time to move faster. Once I was out, it was pretty damn surreal. They basically just give you your sheet back and let you out the front door. I didn't go in with my phone. But luckily I got out with another guy who had his and let me use it so I could call for a ride. First stop for me was the grocery store for smokes. The first cigarette was goddamn amazing. I should have kicked the habit when I was in, but it was my first thought on getting out. Jail sucks. Don't go there. So my experience with incarceration is very brief. However, entering jail I was pro death penalty. After being locked in solitary for 2 days I changed my mind. Locked in a room by yourself is a fate worse than death. I damn near lost my mind. Then I did 5 more days later after I was convicted. just county, but when I was getting out I was worried that something would happen and they'd throw me back in. My experience was nothing compared to the others in this thread and that of my stepdad who did 11 years 10 months and 7 days. On mobile, so sorry if formatting is awful. I was in county for 3 months. Unlike others, I wasn't sentenced to that time. That was waiting. We had gone through pre-trial. Got offered the plea. Plea was accepted and signed. Then I was waiting for the pre-sentencing report and finally sentencing. I knew I was getting a year of probation, but I had been waiting almost 2 months for that. The thought creeps in your head. What if the judge doesn't accept it? How much longer will I be here? My bond had been reduced from $50,000 to $10,000, but who the hell had $1,000 to get me out? Went to court that morning and the judge signed the plea, and then I was taken back to the jail to wait, and wait, and wait. It was late afternoon by the time they got to the women's block. I had given away my breakfast and lunch, determined not to eat another crap meal in that place. All my extra stuff I wouldn't be expected to leave with was given away, and the rest was rolled up by the door in the mattress. I had apparently lost about 4 pant sizes while inside, and my pants I had been wearing on that fateful street Patrick's Day would not stay up. I had to take the long-sleeved shirt I had been wearing, put it through the belt loops and tie it to keep my pants on. It was just surreal. I was only in for about 14 days. So nothing crazy. But damn, the last day was a damn good day. It was weird. I was crazy grateful for the smallest things. And I was only in jail for 14 days. So I can't imagine being in for an extended period of time. Where I was, they had a bus take you back. And they don't drop you off at your house or whatever. They just drop you at a major intersection or close spot. I didn't care where they dropped me off. It was just awesome getting out. A feeling of joy and relief. I had to walk 1.5 miles at 4:30 a.m. in freezing cold weather in a suburb just outside of Detroit. Ice, snow, and about 14 degrees Fahrenheit, but didn't give a duck. I couldn't be happier to be home. Prison time goes slow. The days leading up to your last day drag on even more. But that last day, damn. There is nothing you can do to make the time pass as you wait for your name over the intercom. You wake up. Breakfast comes. But you can't eat. You pack up your possessions, giving what you can away to the friends you've made inside. You sit on your bunk, staring at the blank walls where your pictures and drawings used to hang. Lunch comes. You still don't want to eat that shitty prison food. But you do. Just to have something in your belly. Duck it. Eat the good stuff when you get out. By now, you have your street clothes back on. Still sitting on your bunk. Finally, they call your name. You walk out of the cell. And into booking. They give you your property. And take back theirs. You sign some papers. And walk out to freedom. When I worked in a jail, when an inmate was leaving permanently, we called it ATW, all the way out the door. So I would open the cell block door and then command the cell block's attention with a loud booming voice that would make 60 men freeze like they all got caught doing something wrong. Then after they all shut up, I would call the inmate out by his name, and then I would pause momentarily and then go into Price is Right announcer voice. "John Doe, come on down. You're the next contestant on ATW." Did 6 months of a 5-year sentence, and on the day I was released, the 1st of April, they dressed me out and gave me my property and stuck me in a pre-trial room, a little cell that you used to talk to the pre-trial people through glass. After sitting there for about an hour, I asked one of the COs what the deal was, and they said that it showed in the computer that I was supposed to do the whole 5 years, even though I had checked my out date with the COs because I was working in the hall, so it was easy to just walk up and ask them to check it. I told the CO that if this was some kind of April Fool's joke, that it wasn't very funny. I had to wait in the pre-trial room for 4 hours until the judge that had heard my case got done in court so they could check with him, supposedly. Then they sent me on my way. 4 months in Brig Miramar. Drug distribution. Pretty laid back for a military jail. Wake up. Clean room, made the bed and go to work. I was fortunate in that I worked in the galley cleaning. Except for the last few days where I had to stay in the dorm and clean. Boring as duck. Well, the last day I am sitting in a chair waiting for the guards to come get me for release. Stressed out and nervous. So stressed out that a buddy, guy I hung out with, not a trucker, good buddy, grabbed me by the shoulder to say goodbye. I flipped, turned around and grabbed him by the throat. Nothing serious, and let go immediately. I apologized and he said it was cool. The guard still had to bring it up the chain. I was brought to the CO for a talk. He told me the consequences of my actions and that I could lose all of my good time. Surprisingly, he let me off. I was overjoyed. Sent back to the dorm to watch the clock until the guards let me out. Drove me in a van to TPU on 32nd Street and bought some smokes. 3 years. 19-22 for trafficking eggs. I told only a couple of my closest dudes when exactly I was leaving. I was more nervous than anything. Almost scared of the real world. I had literally blocked out my life before the joint to better live inside. You're your own worst enemy in there. There's a little saying. Do the time, don't let the time do you. So I put up these mental walls to better accept that prison is my life now, and then I started tearing them down, floods of emotions that I had felt since I first went down. Faces of friends from before, wondering what everyone's still doing. What has changed? What's the same? What am I going to do when I get home? Where will I go? It's hard to stay calm when the end is getting near. I tried my hardest to just distract myself. Books and TV. The last couple days were, as you could have guessed, agonizingly slow. But you just accept everything that happens as it is what it is and try and not focus too much on it. None of my circle of friends stuck together. So I focused on me, and within my 2-year mark that just passed, the 17th of June, I now have a 40-acre pot farm in a currently medical, soon to be legal state, and life is looking great. Prison was a godsend for me. Something so terrible to be so thankful for. Now, like in prison, how I had blocked out real life. I can barely recall faces and names of people that I spent every day of 3 years with. I've lived so many different lives, I feel like lol. But it is what it is. Talking to you. I can barely remember my last days in prison, I discovered. But places like that are as terrible as you let or make them be. I spent time in a federal camp. The last day was absolutely surreal. It didn't feel real whatsoever. And they're not too entirely upfront about the entire release process. It's essentially a mystery to those who haven't already gone through it. The last day was filled with goodbyes to the fellow inmates I'd grown close with. You also typically take your commissary items such as dishes, food, clothes, toiletries, shoes, etc. that you won't use in the real world and give them to anybody who may need them, can't afford them. I was so anxious on my last day, it's a miracle I was able to sleep at all. But the best feeling in my entire life was exiting the administration building officially out of custody. Being able to hug my family that awaited, in normal clothes and with no restrictions, was absolutely incredible. I did 2 years for possession of a firearm. Last day behind bars felt like forever. It felt longer than the 23 months. Anyway, I laid low. Didn't talk to many people as people get a little bent out of shape when they know you're leaving and they're staying. In short, it was a long day that had me on edge. Glad it's all over. Just got out this April. Couldn't sleep the last night. And the couple of days after. Sad thing though was I thought things would be better after I got out, but it feels like I'm just in a different sort of prison now. I went in expecting to be there 18 months total, counting the things I hadn't been tried for yet, but ended up getting out in 21 days. That was such a shock. I kept thinking they would tell me to go back. There was a mistake, or that I was really being sent back to county for more charges. I didn't even know if anyone would be there to get me, but my dad was there. The best was when I found out I was really free and clear of all the charges. That it was not a temporary reprieve, but that my friends and family had paid everything that needed to be paid and I didn't have any pending warrants or court dates. Imagine that time when you were alone. Nowhere to go and no place to call home. Your only friends were the people in your cell. And even sometimes they would go away too. Then one night as you closed your eyes, you were dragged out and free. That's what it feels like. I did 6 months. Got out in November. Stayed up the whole night. All the friends I made stayed up WTH me. We played cards all night and everybody wrote their Facebooks down so we could hit each other up on the outside. Everybody was mildly arguing over my stuff. Some people don't get money sent in from their family friends, so I gave my less fortunate friends my toothpaste, shampoo, soap, etc. Gave away my $200 Jordans and walked out in $2 prison scappies. I got out around 10 AM that day. Those first few steps outside when the sun hits your face was the most euphoric moment of my life. I wish I could go back and relive that moment. Did 7 years. Federal. You forget that they will ever let you go. You put it out of your mind and just do your daily program. The day before, you return all the sheet they issued you. You have been giving your personal stuff away over the last couple weeks. So you're wearing your last institutional clothes. They call you at 8 AM. It only takes about 15 minutes to process you out. There is usually just you. Or maybe 1 or 2 others. The costs are nice. There's no reason to be a big dig anymore. You walk out. Get picked up by whoever is picking you up, and for the next few months you expect the ground to fall away from under your feet and you to be back. You have a lasting hatred of police and anyone connected with the criminal justice system. You have gained the ability to see through so many people's bullshit. You are distrustful. You are stressed about finding work and finding where you fit in this world. Everyone else is saying short stint, so I'll be one of those people. Short stint. 4 months for DWIs. But the last full day is pretty restless and a lot of thinking about what's going to be different. All the people you haven't gotten to speak to and how those relationships will change. I thought about that a lot, but the last day it weighed heavily on my mind. Lots of time to think in there, but your mind goes crazy on that last day. The last actual day though is a whole lot of signing papers and waiting on people to do things so you can sign more papers and wait. I spent a handful of days under suicide watch in a woman's jail. I was thrown in there completely naked after they cut off all my clothing. I was resisting and wouldn't unclothe myself because I was in a psychosis and uncooperative. I spent several days in lockdown in a psychosis screaming my head off. I wasn't the only one in psych doing the same. I never got a phone call, which is what I was hoping for when they took me to court. I waited alone in a room for some time when they told me the judge threw out my case. I had slapped my then boyfriend very lightly and he had called the police on me, and that I was going to be released. They were actually going to release me at 3 in the morning in an area I didn't know. But they decided to wait until my family came to get me instead. Considering my mental status, getting out was weird because all the lady cops were upset with me. I tried biting one of them, and she told me how she wanted to take me out and how I was lucky. That didn't make me feel well. They had to give me someone else's clothes when I was released because they destroyed mine. I was so happy to leave. I hope never to go back. But when I'm manic I get really combative with people. I almost got arrested again a couple months ago. I need to keep taking my meds. They are supposed to keep me out of trouble.